What's your vision board? I just love Planet Fitness. I took a picture of everything they said, of the culture that they want to make and where they're headed. And I was just talking to Brother Whitehill, and I was telling him that life's like a Greyhound bus station, or somewhat in an organization like the airport. You go to this airport, right? And they got this big board up there. Let's call it a vision board. You're trying to get to a destination, and you look at that vision board, and you decide where you want to go. They tell you what the price is going to be to get there, what it's going to cost you. They tell you how many stops you're going to have along the way. Of course, sometimes you can't predict every stop, or something may happen and you have to do a layover. But generally, you're going to get an idea of where you're headed. And you hop on this plane to get you where you're going. But just imagine with me for a second. If you hopped on a plane, and as you hopped on that plane, the person promised you, don't worry about the price. No expectation for that. Don't worry about the destination. Don't worry about what time we're going to get there. But I promise you, we're all going to get to the place that we want to be. Just hop on the plane. And you hopped on the plane, didn't realize it was a transatlantic flight. You were headed to Florida. And now you got plenty of people on here who were headed to Florida with you. But number one, they're bitter. They're bitter because they headed in a direction they didn't want to be. They got excess weight on the plane, which is actually hurting you as an organization. Why? Because you're going to burn more fuel carrying people that you should never have been carrying in the first place. And then when you get off of the plane, those people are going to be angry. They're going to leave your airline, and they're going to say, I never should have came to your airline in the first place. And so they leave you, and you're upset because how could they not love your organization? Well, the truth was that you did not make clear-cut direction on where you were headed. And you have to realize something. Your organization and your plane is not for everyone. It's for many, but not for everyone. There's too many people headed in different directions and diversity. There's different types of callings and ministries and things like that. And we so often are so scared that we won't be able to fund our airline that we take any and everybody on our plane. We take any and everybody just going in and out and not really ever telling them what it costs to take the ride. Not telling them how long it's going to be before we get there. And after a while, they get frustrated and they leave. And then we get mad at them when the truth of the matter is they should have never been on the plane in the first place. Why were they on the plane? Because instead of taking the time to be thoughtful and create a vision board and say, this is where I want to be. This is where I see myself headed. This is what I want to do. Many times what we do is we just want everybody on the plane because it makes us feel good when all the seats are filled. It makes us feel good that our organization is getting revenue. It makes it feel good that our organization is wanted and needed. But the truth of the matter is it's not wanted nor needed by everyone. You have a specific destination that you're headed to, and everybody is not headed to your destination. And the best thing that you can do is pray to God for vision of where am I headed, and give me the people that need to be on my plane. Now, I want you to think about something for a second. Jesus came and he was doing ministry, and he had a church, and his church had over 70 people in it. That's a good start. And he was doing work with these people, and he was sending them out. And then Jesus gets frustrated. He stops. Why? Because there are people on his plane that don't need to be on his plane. He stops in John chapter 6 and he starts telling them, you're not following me just because of the miracles. You're following me because of the loaves. In other words, I'm headed in a different direction than you are, and I've set an expectation, and you are not meeting this. Let me tell you where I'm really headed. But these people are getting something that they like. They're self-centeredly, just like many people that are in our organization. They're getting something that they like from us, but they are not getting what they need to get where they're going. They're there for the wrong reasons, and they will never flourish how they need to flourish. And then Jesus says something phenomenal. He looks at them and says, unless you eat of my flesh and you drink of my blood, you can have no part in me. And they looked at him and said, wait a minute, this vision board's a little bit different for what I'm headed toward. I can't do that. This is a hard saying. And then John 6, chapter 66 says this, and at that time, many of them left and did not follow him anymore. Now, from an organizational and behavioral organizational standpoint, that seems disastrous because you've lost most of your organization. About 90% of the people that were following you now are not following you. That would seem like a crisis moment, but Jesus looks over and he does something mind-boggling. He looks at the last people that are left and says, do you want to go too? And this dude named Peter, see, I like Peter because Peter's plain spoken and he's real. Peter looks at him and says, basically, where else are we going to get a ride? You're headed in the destination that we're headed to. You have the words of eternal life. In other words, your purpose is my purpose. I'm headed where you're headed, and I realize I can't get there unless I'm on your plane. I might not like everything that's on your plane. I might not like the amenities. I may not like the music. I may not like the children's ministry. I may not like certain things about your organization, but the truth of the matter is, if you're headed in the destination that I want, I would rather hop on the plane that doesn't have everything I want but gets me to my destination than ultimately hop on a plane that gives me some of the things I want, but I'm not going to get where I'm really intending to head. And we as leaders need to take a deep look at organizational behavior. What are we really advertising? Where are we really headed? And for those of us who are in organizations that lead, that are called churches, where are we really headed? Are we headed in a Christo or a bibliocentric way? Or are we headed in a culture-centric way? And if you don't tell people where you're headed, when you really reveal where you're headed, they're going to change course on you. They're going to leave you. And you get upset when you start preaching biblical principles and people say, I never really knew you felt that way. I never really knew that was who you really were. And then we get upset because people leave and we say, how could they leave? After all, they know me. The truth of the matter is they don't. You never told them who you were. You never told them what you stood for. And because you didn't, when the real you finally comes out, they decide that your value system is not my value system, and what lines up with your destination is not my destination. And now we're depressed because they left us, but we need to be like Jesus. And Jesus teaches us something. He looks at them and says, do you want to go too? What is he saying? I only have a short time to accomplish the mission that I have. I'm not worried about volume. I'm worried about victory. I'm not worried about quantity rather. I'm worried about quality. And if you can't go where I'm headed, I need you to understand that now, because I can get a ton more done with the few that I have that are headed in my direction than a whole boatload of people that's just taking up space. Now, this message is going to affect different people in different ways. It's going to touch people in different ways. It's going to touch your heart and mind in different ways. It's going to be eye-opening for some leaders who have decided that what I'm doing is not working and it's frustrating you, you're going to realize that there are some people that either A, aren't on your boat, or B, you haven't set a clear-cut direction of where you're headed because you're scared if you do, they're going to leave. And the truth of the matter is, they need to leave because you have them there on false pretenses. You have them there thinking that they want to accomplish something that you as a leader are not headed in that direction. And not only is it unfair to you because they're not going to get there, they're not going to help you get there, and they're going to be frustrated, but number two, it's unfair to them because you're wasting their time, and then you wonder why they're bitter. They're bitter because you wasted their time, and now they're in California and they were headed to Chicago. So if I learned or give you anything today, I want you to learn this and know this. Know where you're headed. Set a vision and a mission statement. Not only set a vision and a mission statement, but be clear, cut, and direct. And don't be so quick to try to get everybody on your plane. Well, what about churches? Yeah, everyone's welcome at the church. But what I'm talking more so in this instance is from a leadership spot or organizational behavioral spot. In other words, everybody does not belong on your plane. Everybody doesn't belong on your leadership team. Well, I have a void there. Well, let it stay unfilled until you get to the point where you find the right person to fill it. Because if you don't, you're going to put somebody that's headed to Chicago in your bus driving seat that's headed to California, and you're going to have a wreck. So what do I pull from this? Number one, I need to let people know where I'm headed. Number two, I need to know, which should have been number one, where I'm headed myself. Number three, I need to be honest and open with people about expectations where I'm headed. And number four, I shouldn't be afraid to lose people. Because why should I not be afraid to lose people? And this is an important thing for us to know. There are other people that are headed where you're headed, but they can't get on your bus and on your plane because somebody else is sitting in the seat. That doesn't make them a bad person. If people leave your organization, that doesn't make them bad people. Don't be vitriolic and try to discourage those people or talk about those people. All the planes in United Airlines belong to United Airlines. They're all on one team, but they are headed to different destinations, and different pilots are driving to different places. And God gives us different purposes, different destinies, but the same ultimate goal, to get people to heaven. And you're not going to reach all the same people the same way. Isaiah spoke to kings. Amos spoke to farmers. Know your calling. You might be called to urban ministry or the city ministry. You may be called to suburban ministry. But whatever you're called to at this moment, and that may change, your assignment may change. Be open to God. Know where you're headed. Head where you're headed. And get people that are headed where you're headed. Get the people that aren't on your plane, not in a negative way, off your plane, that aren't headed in your direction. Not by throwing them away. They're not invaluable. But what you're doing is holding up a valuable player for some team that needs that leader. And you're also holding up somebody else from attaining their destiny because they need what you have to give. What you have is significant. And I hope that you realize that, and you let the right people on your plane.